welcome to the Metapod Podcast, Pokemon podcast that revolves around the evolving meta. Coming up on episode 150, and Sean, before I ask how your week was, I over the last week, we talked about Cyrus winning North American International Championships and how we interviewed Cyrus way back when in episode 8, and I was updating because I realized that we didn't have the playlist of all of some of the older episodes up on the YouTube channel, so I was putting those in, and I happened to listen back to the first episode that we did way back when, and I just want everyone to know, because a lot of people at NAIC, asked me to do the Welcome to the Metapod Podcast, Pokemon podcast revolves around the evolving meta. Blah, blah,
That's
blah.
awesome.
Yeah, there was a couple people that did that, and I just want to, for the record, note that the very first episode I said, quote, "Welcome to the Meta Podcast," end quote.
We were still finding ourselves, Jake.
Yeah, I know. It was still a discovery, but I just thought that was a little funny thing that I came across. But Sean, how was your week?
I mean, my week was great. I played so much Pokemon, Jake. I went to a place that I used to play Digimon all the time. I just jammed with some of the people there on Tuesday, and then on Thursday I did a locals and just jammed there, and then on Friday I went and played with more people that are friends of mine that I haven't seen in a while. And then Saturday, I didn't play Pokemon. And then Sunday, I did a league challenge and did not do so great, but it's fine. So I played a lot of Pokemon.
This is the era where Sean and Jake start playing a lot of Pokemon again, it feels like.
Yeah.
I feel like we
back.
both upped our Pokemon game, especially since like NAIC. The fun of Pokemon is back, it feels like. But
It's true.
That's awesome. We are actually going to be talking, we're going to be talking about your deck later in the podcast at the challenge. That's pretty fun, and we'll talk about some other we'll talk about some other whatchamacallit, more budget friendly decks for anybody who's looking for a new deck to quickly build for locals, fun with friends, literally anything. But I didn't play as much Pokemon this past week as I have the last couple weeks, but what I will say is I spent a lot of time looking at Pokemon cards. So my partner lives next to like a used game shop, and we were going in there one time because we were looking for a binder for her friend, and I saw that they had just boxes of like bulk Pokemon cards in like those white cardboard liners. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I would love to just go through that one day, just looking in there. They had like commons priced at 15 cents, uncommons at 25, rares at 35 cents. And I'm like, this isn't a card shop. So like, who knows? Maybe we'll find some stuff in there. And I sat there for about 2 hours with my partner. Shout out to her for doing that with me. And we were just looking through every single one for 2 hours. It was the most cathartic experience ever. Just looking for, anything that kind of caught my eye, whether it was, like a Komiya art, on a card, or a really good, like, competitive card, whether in previous formats or standard right now. And I will say, I definitely got over probably like 250 cards out of the pile. And let me tell you, Sean, some of the finds that I found. Let me take a quick drink first.
Take a sip first.
Yeah.
I mean, I will ask, like, while you're sipping, did you find a lot of cards that are from like older formats? Because I know those trainers, especially ones that don't typically get reprinted, that can be kind of difficult to get a hold of if you want to build those older format decks.
Yeah, I found a lot of good stuff from a bunch of different eras. I mean, I didn't really get too much stuff. I found a few things from like the base set era, like the WotC Wizards of the Coast era things. More so the Wizards of the Coast stuff that was like base set 2, Rocket, like those sets. Not necessarily anything. I didn't find like anything Neo in there, but I found like e-reader series cards. I found Diamond and Pearl era cards, Hard Gold, Soul Silver, stuff like that. So I found everything under the sun, even like new Scarlet and Violet bulk was in there. So that was like really, really cool and really nice to go through. And some of the big hits that I got, I found a Propagation Execute in there.
Ooh, that's very good.
And because the Propagation Execute is a common, I got it for 15 cents. It's like a $5 card, which was awesome. I found a Cities promo Parallel City, Sean.
Wow.
And that was in the bin, and I got that for $1. It was, I mean, they weren't like super aware of the card, but they knew it was like a little bit more than a rare, so they were just like, just have it for $1.
Hey, you did the work to identify the good stuff.
Yeah,
so
I sat there for 2 hours. I sat there for 2 hours sorting, so I felt like it was a pretty good deal. So I got that for $1. That's like a $10 card, I think.
Yeah.
Right now on TCG Player. I found a Nationals promo Chaos Tower, which I don't know the price of that card, but just being a Nationals promo is like super, super cool. I found, I grabbed like over 10 trainers mail. I grabbed like, I think like 7, lilies in there. I found 3 reverse hollow black belt supporters, which is like Hard Gold, Soul Silver era. There's a Smeargle, Portrait Smeargle. Sean, do you know that card from like Hard Gold, Soul Silver?
I don't know. I've heard tell, but yeah.
It basically was a really, really good Pokemon in the Hard Gold, Soul Silver era that I think it was like an ability. You got to look at your opponent's hand. If they had a supporter, you could use the effect of that supporter, and it wasn't like your supporter for turn, I believe.
Oh, wow.
So it's like a really, really strong card. So like I got that for super, super cheap because that was just in there as well. They had a Mina, a full art Mina in there, which it wasn't priced at like $1. It was like $20, but still $20 for a full art Mina, Lost Thunder, waifu kind of card. Checking it off my list was really, really good. I found 3 Celios networks in there, so that was really cool. And all these cards are in like pretty good condition. I would say from like moderately played to near mint on all these cards. So that was really, really exciting. I found a lot of Celebration stuff too, which was really exciting. So like I got a play set of Rockets Admin, which for anyone who doesn't know, Rockets Admin is basically like N or like Iono, that kind of iteration where like you shuffle and draw prize card amount. So I got all those Rockets admins. I got a full play set of the Groundons, Team Magma's Groundons. I found a Donphan, a Garchomp. I found like 3 Cleffas, the Eek Cleffas in there, a Dark Gyarados. There was just so many cool cards to find, and it was just really, really nice. And I've been on a binge in budget decks recently. All the 2018 Worlds decks shipped to my house, so now I've got those fully built. And I played some of those too over the weekend, and 2018 is a weirdly different format than 2023, I'll say. So
I mean,
that's my update on the retro binge.
I will say too, some of these retro cards, like truly retro, like WotC era stuff, there was rares back in the day that were not hollow. So it's not immediately obvious that they should be more or less expensive, especially to like if you're a store owner and you just do the common thing of like, oh, I sort things into non-hollow, hollow, full art, whatever. Cards like Computer Search. I don't know if you came across any of those, but those are rares from base set.
Yeah.
And yeah, those Computer Searches, they're like $7 each. And if you're playing, I built a bunch of old decks, and like, yeah, when you play those old decks, like it's actually really expensive to get a play set of Computer Searches. It's like $30.
It's crazy, and I mean that doesn't even count the A-Specs ones where you're trying to play an expanded, and some like organizers at the local level will allow you to play like the base set Computer Search instead because the A-spec
A-specs.
ones warp. Yeah, they just warp and they become marked cards essentially. So, um, but yeah, like it was crazy too, because like the people in there, shout outs to them. I don't think they cared enough really as well. Because I had like a whole stack. It's definitely over like 100 cards, and he was just like, I would say this is probably about like 50 cards. We'll just do like $10.
I mean, look, again, it's probably been sitting in their store for years. It
Yeah, like
sounds
I'm
like.
sure I'm
So,
sure especially the just like sleeves of stuff, it was just like it was just they bought bulk off of someone one time. Some, when the Pokemon card craze started with Logan Paul that we covered on the
mhm.
podcast and stuff, and everybody was selling off their Pokemon card collections and things like that and try to make a couple bucks. I bet the store had taken that, and now that they have some, they just keep accumulating more and more, with people in Scarlet and Violet and stuff. There was this one binder though. So like, in card shops how they have like what am I trying to say? Card shops, they have, sometimes they have a binder that sits on top of the glass case that may have like some V's in it or
Mhm.
some more like specific kind of cards. Well, there was one sitting on the glass table above like their handheld consoles and Game Boy games and stuff. And it was a Pokemon card binder, and I was like, oh, might as well look in it because I was just about to check out and stuff. And so I looked in there, and there was some sick cards. I'm talking like Legendary Treasures Machamp, right?
Oh
With the
wow.
fireworks promo. There was, one of the promo
Mm.
Garbotoxins, bunch of Double Dragon in there, some plasma, um, some like plasma era stuff of like the Deoxys and Genesect, and so I'm like picking these cards out, like Regirock XY promos in there. Like I'm picking these cards out and I'm like, dude, this is awesome. And being the good Samaritan that I am, before going up there, I organized the cards because I knew kind of how they were going to do it. So I put like all the commons in one stack. I put the uncommons in another stack, the rares in another stack. So then I could be like, these are all these, to make it easier for you to calculate or whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I could have, I guess, put those cards in my rare stack, right? Because I
They're
mean, they're like
technically
rares,
rares.
and but I put them in a different stack, and I was like, so here are the cards that I got from the bins, and then I was like, I got these cards from the binder too. Just wanted to let you know, I don't know how the pricing works on those, but I'd love to know. And the guy, he definitely didn't care, because again, he was like, oh, these 150 cards, it looks like 50 cards, $10, whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
He he was like, I don't actually know what we're doing with those cards. And he like asked his manager, and apparently somebody had came in to trade in those cards for like different things in the stores, and they were like over in the back or whatever. So they actually weren't for sale. They were just
Okay.
waiting for the potential trade. And so I was a little sad because there was
Yeah.
some awesome cards in there. But I mean, I respectfully said my apologies and put it back. But that's my if if you
That's what you
like
did this
sorting,
weekend.
yeah, I mean, if you like sorting and you like just going through, I mean, I've been on an old retro kick lately, if for anyone who doesn't know. So it was just really nice and just really cool as well. I mean, I got plenty of other cards that are just like really cool arts and stuff, not going to be used in decks and stuff, just like binder collecting cards. So if you ever get that chance, just sort through the bulk sleeve, pick some
Yeah.
stuff out you like. It's fun.
Well, Jake,
Oh,
getting into the
yes.
stuff, getting into the news now. I know you have a review for us as well to kick us off.
We
Yeah.
do. We
Okay.
do. A new review came in last week. Fun, friendly, and informative. This is from Isaac, I believe the name is called. It says, hey fellas, just watched the Pokemon TCG Road to Worlds program you all mentioned and loved it. I actually have watched it as well, because some other content creators have been watching it, and so I kind of
Yeah.
tuned in and stuff, and I actually really like it too. So I'm glad other people are enjoying it. I think that I think that's what the pod does best. It's a nice blend of general Pokemon info followed by metagaming, and the chemistry amongst both of you is friendly but not an echo chamber. Each one of you has an opinion of your own. I've become more knowledgeable by listening, and now I look forward to each episode Tuesday mornings. Keep up the great work.
Thank you, Isaac.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, we've been doing this for
3 years.
3 years
Almost.
now. I would hope that we have chemistry, you know.
Yeah.
Be a little tough if we didn't, but
150 episodes in.
Yeah, 150 episodes. But yeah, again, you know, that Road to Worlds documentary series, if you've got some free time and want to watch it, I mean, it's really, really good. I mean, we talked about how it was supposed to, or it was pitched to Netflix, and Netflix didn't take it. But I think it's well worth your time. It's fun, it's interesting, it's cool. Just both the Road to World series and the like Why We Play Pokemon series or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, the 3-parter of like the card collector, the kid, and the
I haven't watched that one. That's the one
I
that
haven't watched all of those, but I have watched 2 of them. It's a kid that like moves and he like starts going to locals and stuff. He like primarily plays at home. And then another one of a guy in California, I think, that just kind of like gives cards to kids.
Okay.
He runs like his own card stand at like it's not a flea market. It's like outdoor, you know, you set up your tent and you usually sell stuff. Yeah, he like gives cards. They're so good. They're wonderful. They're very well done. So highly encourage again. But anyways, aside from that, Sean, there's been some news coming out of the Pokemon trading card game. I think news is going to be a little bit slow until the World Championships, but there's still some things that we can talk about. The first one being an update on the My First Battle deck. Sean, do you remember us talking about those?
Yeah, I do. We briefly talked about it when they announced the product, and it was like, yeah, it's kind of like it feels like an expansion on, remember Battle Academy, the thing that won the prizes? Yes. So it's kind of like Battle Academy, but it's a single player version that you can get, it seems like.
It's a basically, again, you know, as Sean was saying, you know, intended to teach new players how to play the game. I wanted to talk about this update a little bit because, I mean, I didn't buy the Battle Academy. Did you buy and open the Battle Academy? So, like, these cards, we've gotten some more information, some more images and things like that of, you know, what this is in these cards. And I find that it's really interesting. The cards in these decks, there's 2 different decks. They feature blue borders, Sean, which I don't think is something that's. I mean, we got silver borders now, and then Pokemon cards used to have yellow borders, but I don't know if we've had these kind of like blue border stuff in there.
I think they've done different card backs. I think the Battle Academy, I want to say those cards had maybe slightly different card backs, and then obviously the championship decks, the World Championship decks have different card backs. I think, though, that they really want to emphasize for any kid who's learning, like, hey, these are blue bordered. The second you try to put these into a normal deck, so say the kid like, oh, I really like this and I want to build my own deck, it's going to be very apparent to anybody that they play with that these are not legal cards, right?
Yes. I mean, they're also in these cards, again, teaching people how to play the game. They're lacking weakness, resistance, retreat, and card numbers. So if you go on the PokeBeach website and you look at the Kanto starter Pokemon images that were shown, you know, the stuff that's usually at the bottom, it's just disappeared. No weakness, no resistance, no retreat costs information, any of that stuff. So it's really, really, again, young kids, partner, your grandmother, anybody who wants to learn how to play the game. This will be a really cool thing. It's like 17 card decks, 2 mini 17 card decks in there. You get 2 laminated playmats designed for single player use, large coin, sheet of damage counters, 6 prize tokens, That's another interesting thing too. So
I
I
guess with 17
think,
cards, you can't really put out
yeah,
six
like I mean,
prizes.
yeah. So I interesting though, prize tokens. Because if you have six prize tokens, it may just be 3 each player. Then,
Yeah,
um,
that also makes sense. But still, you can't. Yeah, you can't really put prize cards out because your decks are so small to begin with that like you're like a third of your deck is in the prizes.
I also don't know if Battle Academy, thinking about it, like, um, if Battle Academy had like a code or anything that you could redeem on Pokemon TCG Live, I feel like there I feel like there could be some sort of advertising in here about like, if you would like to play more and stuff like that, you can go to play for free at Pokemon TCG Live or whatever, and maybe you get like the card backs as sleeves or something like that, or
I
one of the coins, the metallic coin that you get in there. I don't know.
I do wonder, Jake. Though I actually don't know if accidentally clicking things. I'm trapped. I do wonder though if this is really intended for very young kids. I think.
Oh yes, oh yes.
And TCG Live, even if like I don't know what the age ranges of TCG Live legally are allowed to
Hmm.
play. It may be that TCG Live, I could be very wrong here, but they might have a thing where like technically you're supposed to be 13 when you register an account. Um, I don't know. I don't have that. I don't ever have to deal with that. But they may not be putting TCG Live on here because they're expecting the children to be very young, and it's just like, yeah, no, they don't even want kids who are like 5 or 4 on TCG
It
Live.
does say on the product image 6+.
Uh,
So yeah, I think
sure.
again what you're saying, just young people. Um, I
But
mean
yeah,
these look cool. It'll be
yeah, sure.
interesting.
If you got very young kids, it's a really neat, very simple way to introduce them to the basic mechanics.
It'll also be coming out on September 29th, I believe it was. Yes,
Yep.
September 29th. So if you're looking for that, might as well go get it. But for those of us, Sean, that play well, I don't know if you play Pokemon TCG Live
Nope.
anymore.
But
But
for
for
those who
anyone
do,
who, yeah, for those who do, or maybe if you just do the redemptions that we get every so often from events. Pokemon has revealed what they're going to be giving out during the World Championships, as usual for like um, ICs, Worlds, things like that. They usually put a code on screen or through some press release of like something that you can redeem um, on live to get a free card, and usually it's a ultra rare kind of card, not necessarily just like a regular
yep.
switch.
They did
um
Iono
yeah, they did
for
Iono at
NAIC.
NAIC. They've done Boss's Orders in the past, Professor's Research, Marnie. This time, though, for the World Championships, they are taking it a step higher, in my opinion. They are going to be giving out something from Obsidian Flames, a hyper rare version of the Dark Charizard EX, Sean. Ooh.
Yeah, hold on.
I,
I am messing up my screen. I clicked on something on Pokebeach and it messed up my whole browser. Jake.
for anyone who doesn't know, I do believe that this news that they announced was like the reveal of this specific Charizard card. If you do not know, Charizard EX is going to be getting a dark type card in Obsidian Flames. It's stage 2, 330 HP, and it's the Terrastol EX kind of Pokemon as well. So that's why it's a dark type. It's got fire attacking moves in it. But this I think is the one that they're giving out on the Twitch live stream for Worlds 2023. I think this is like the max rarity Charizard. Do you got that one pulled back up, Sean?
Yeah, yeah, it's the gold one that they have.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, like max rarity, maybe technically, but I don't think it's going to be the chase card, technically.
I have no idea. They also did reveal the Illustrator rare, I think it is.
Yeah,
Um,
that one looks cool.
of the Charizard, yeah, that one I do agree. That one looks very interesting. I don't know. I feel like those cards too, though. You're just gonna have to see them in person. Um, and I'll talk about this a little bit later with another reveal that happened in Pokemon's announcements the past week. But I think it's gonna look really sick. It's really busy though. So hopefully
Yeah.
it. Oh,
It's
oh,
it's an
it's
interesting art
Charizard.
style. Yeah, it's
Hmm.
Charizard. And look, just point being, keep an eye on the Twitch live stream or on whatever social platforms that you might follow Pokemon news. People will post the code and then you'll have a certain amount of time to redeem it, basically.
We'll try to. I'll probably remember to retweet the code as well. Over on Twitter, and we'll post it on Threads too.
Yep.
So then everybody has got that. But if you are not necessarily looking for Pokemon TCG Live stuff and you're looking at freebies, the Pokemon Company has been revealing a lot of new cards from Ruler of the Black Flame, which is Japan's set that is going to be morphed into
Obsidian
Obsidian
Flames.
Flames, our set. And what's really interesting, Sean, before we go into kind of the one card that I want to talk about, because again, we save most of our set reviews for the Obsidian Flames set list when we talk about these cards. There's just one that I kind of want to talk about. Um, with these sets, this may be the first time really in at least, post WotC era that the sets have combined so close together, right? It's like Ruler of the Black Flames. Ruler of the Black Flames releases on July 28th, correct?
Yep.
So when does Obsidian Flames release for us?
Official release date is August 11th, but pre-releases start the weekend of July 28th.
Yeah, so I think this is the first time that a pre-release will start for a set that is like the same set coming out officially in Japan. I think I overheard someone saying, and I haven't really like fact checked this, so it at least hasn't happened in a long, long, long time if it's ever happened before.
Yeah, it's very surprising. Like I have to remind myself, oh wait, the reason we don't know everything about Obsidian Flames is because it hasn't been released in Japan yet.
Yeah, they're still revealing their cards through trailers and
Yeah.
teasers and stuff.
So
It is interesting though.
Yeah, go ahead.
Cause like with the Pokemon Company and what they've done with the card game, especially transitioning into the different regulation marks now, right? Rotation is not necessarily a set, it's in blocks now. So like the last time D block rotated, um, stuff like that. So I don't know. This may just be a sign because isn't like this year or whatever, this past season, all the sets were like pushed back a month or something like that, or like recently a
Maybe.
lot of the sets were pushed back.
Yeah, we got yeah, I something like that feels right. Maybe Scarlet and Violet came out a little later than they typically do, but
I
the one thing
wonder if, yeah, what?
I was gonna say, the one thing though is that's weird is Pokemon 151 has been out in Japan
Mm-hmm.
for almost a month, and it won't come out outside of Japan until the end of August. So
Yeah,
it's weird. Like
little.
we're at the same timing for Obsidian Flames and Ruler of the Black Flame stuff, but Pokemon 151 we're still 2 months out.
It's interesting. I wonder, like, how much more we're going to lean into, like Japan's way, I guess you could say, of like different releases and play style even and things like that. It's curious because it's always interesting to me to hear how it's like so different over in Japan as well. The difference between TPC and TPCI.
Yeah.
Um,
It
so
may
I wonder
be
if
Oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna reiterate. I wonder if they'll ever like just combine, maybe not necessarily combine into one, but make it more unified in terms of like the events and the format and qualifying for worlds and stuff like that.
I mean, that would be interesting. The qualifying part, I don't really know.
Yeah, I have no
It's just
idea.
so different. The card part, I think Japan, who knows? Anything can change, but I imagine Japan will always be a little bit ahead of us,
Hmm.
but maybe less so than usual because it seems what they're trying to do is, Japan sets, our sets are usually two of Japan's sets put together, almost always.
And they
And
have
so when
sets that come out like every month.
exactly. So what it may be is that for all the mainline sets now, whenever our set releases, it's when they get the second half of their two set block. And
Hmm.
so yeah, like they'll have half of a set before we do for like a month. But then when we get all the cards, we all get them roughly together. Like that's kind of interesting.
It'll
Um,
be curious to see how it goes, and only time will tell. It seems like with this. But the one card that I want to talk about that they've been revealing from Ruler of the Black Flame specifically, this made all the news on Twitter, Sean. Pidgeot EX, colorless, 280 HP, stage 2 Pokemon. So, Sean, how familiar are you with like Diamond and Pearl era, early EX era? Not much.
Not at all.
So this Pidgeot has an ability that is the exact same ability as what it did previously many, many years ago. It's called Quick Search. Once during your turn, you may search your deck for a card and put it in your hand. Then shuffle your deck. Can't use more than one Quick Search ability each turn. This card created a lot of noise recently because with this quick search ability, I played in the 2006, 2007 EX era event recently. This card, Pidgeot EX, was included in so many decks. It was a staple, it felt like, in terms of support Pokemon because the ability was so good. And a lot of people have made a lot of noise of like, oh my gosh, it's back. It's going to come back. It's really, really good. It's so awesome. It's so good. Pidgeot, I love Pidgeot, the game. Yes. But one thing that I want people to remember, because for a 1-to-1 looking at it, yeah, pretty sick. Because we have rare candy and format and stuff like that. But rare candy back in 2006, 2007 worked a little differently than it does now. Sean, are you aware of the difference?
I mean, you could probably rare candy on the same turn a Pokemon came into play, right?
Yes. So if I got a Pidgey, I started Pidgey and I draw for the first turn of the game and I had a Pidgeotto in my hand, I could rare candy that first turn into a Pidgeotto. Or if it was, I mean, it's just uh, evolving works much faster, and it was much more different now in that aspect. And so I think, especially with that rare candy difference, I don't know if this card can do much in terms of seeing play. It may be like niche in there, but like what decks actually work for this? I mean, the only one that can really come to mind is like Lugia.
Maybe.
But why would Lugia ever not just go double Archeops is my real question. You know?
Yeah, I
Uh,
don't know. It's a weird one. I think people put a lot of work in when you put Forest Sealstone in a deck.
mm-hmm.
Knowing that you probably can't search it out, so you just have to draw into it naturally, and you're going to take up two deck slots probably at minimum just for that, and you have to put that only on a V, so like it's a little bit more specific.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, and look, I can't compare this to Arceus V Star because it's kind of in its own league.
Yeah,
Because
Arceus V Star is wild,
it's useful,
in
yeah,
that sense.
it's useful on all fronts, Arceus V Star. But
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I could see somebody running like people run 1/1 lines of the Bibarel, right?
Mm-hmm.
I could see somebody running a 1/1 like Pidgey to Pidgeot EX with maybe one rare candy. If you're a deck that's already maybe playing rare candy for other things, like think about
Mm-hmm.
Chen Pao, right? If you're already playing rare candy, then it's not the craziest thing to do this. in my opinion. Like, you might just run 4 rare candy then. Throw something like this in. It takes up 2 deck spaces. And if you can guarantee yourself any card from your deck every turn, it's kind of like, yeah, you might want your opponent might look at this and say, I'll target that down. But 280 HP is not an easy target. It's not Luminion, right? It's not.
Especially with free retreat.
Right, exactly. In terms of a pivot Pokemon, it's worth the investment. I don't know. I agree with you that I don't think it sees play in every deck. It's not like an automatic staple because of all the work that you need to put in to get there. But I also think, Jake, if they ever printed a better Pidgeotto Pidgeot line, I think about the Team Up. Do you remember Team Up Pidgeotto?
Oh, I know that card. Sean. Yeah. I played it a lot.
So Team Up Pidgeotto, for those of you who don't know, it had airmail. And I think, what would that be? Once during your turn, you could look at the top 2 cards of your deck, take one, put it in your hand, and put the other one at the bottom of your deck. Yeah, so it was basically kind of a draw 2-ish effect.
Yeah.
And I looked up. I was like looking up Pidgeottos that are in standard format. This is the first Pidgeotto they've printed since Team Up. Did you know that?
Oh, interesting. Yeah, the Pidgeotto, I mean, they revealed that too. It just has an attack that does 40 damage. That's it.
Yeah, and there's another Pidgeotto in 151 that has free retreat as well. Not that really matters, but if they ever printed a better middle evolution for this, I could easily see this becoming a staple pretty quick.
I don't even think it needs that. I mean, if you had a Pidgey with like Ascension,
yeah,
even, I mean, that I think could work as well. Just being able to evolve quickly, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, in my opinion right now, Pokemon is, especially playing in like the 2006, 2007 era tournament, like Pokemon is so much more aggressive in drawing cards, in, churning through your deck constantly. So it's like, I don't know but it does have a lot of validity. It does have a lot of validity if you want to like get out of something like a Roxanne or a Judge or Iono or Path. Wow. Or Path would shut this off, but the other supporters that like dwindle your hand down, you have an automatic out. Iono to 1, okay, quick search for research. So it's interesting, but we'll learn more, Sean, as time goes on. So what should we mention next?
I mean, I think we could talk about the hollow energy that are coming in 151. The cosmic, I think, is it cosmic hollow or galaxy?
Yes, they're galaxy hollows. Original galaxy hollow paper from the Wizards of the Coast era. It's the same hollow foil as well, used as the Magic the Gathering for their type of energy cards, as PokeBeach claims it.
Yep.
So it'll be something that we'll get in the 151. I have not seen the original WotC era Galaxy foil energies, and so I saw like the pictures online, and I own this. I tweeted it out. I said these honestly look underwhelming. But
really?
everybody said I mean, I think so, just looking at the pictures. But then again, I haven't seen this hollow pattern in person. Who knows? And a lot of people.
I was gonna say, as somebody who plays with reverse foil energies in their decks, especially because gold energies are so expensive, and because they're good, but gold energies are incredibly expensive. And to be honest, especially if you get a bunch of gold cards in your deck, it can be hard to tell the difference. I actually prefer, especially this Galaxy foil over gold energy. For me, because you get the silver border, right, which is nice, and their reverse energies are really nice on the field.
I don't really play with reverse energies anymore. The only one that I would want to play with, if I could, is the like secret rare Japanese energies.
Yeah,
where
fair.
It's just the glass. It looks beautiful, in my opinion. They're basically like reverse hollows for the English stuff, but It's just simple, it's nice, it's shiny, it looks clean, crisp, but who knows? Maybe when I get my hand on these energies from the 151 set, we don't know exactly which slot it's going to be taking in the packs, but I'm sure if you buy an ETB of 151, you'll get at least one of the energies in your packs, more than likely. So who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind when I get those cards in my hands. I'm trying to stay open-minded. And again, 151, the products will begin to release on September 22nd. So we've got some time to think on it, Sean.
The next thing on the list of news is some of the gear that you could get at the Pokemon Center in Yokohama for, I guess, for that very small number of listeners who are going and have a spectator badge, because Lord knows nobody actually was able to get a reservation for anything.
Well, so that's interesting. So yeah, I mean, we joke about everybody posted their lottery pictures for Worlds, because if you wanted to get into things in different events, you had to do the lottery. I believe we talked about it on the podcast. Competitors already have like an entry into the Pokemon Center Japan. It's just that the lottery was like an extra entrance or an earlier entrance, which I didn't see. I don't know anybody that got into the Pokemon Center one, at least. I saw a lot of people get like tickets for the show or whatever, but I didn't see like anything in terms of the Pokemon Center. But in the Pokemon Center, if you did get in or you were planning on going in for a competitor, there were some details that were announced that kind of surprised me, in my opinion. The sales for the deck case Yokohama 2023 and double deck case for Pokemon World Championships 2023 that were originally announced for the Pokemon Center World Store will be discontinued due to circumstances. We apologize for the inconvenience caused to our customers due to the discontinuation of sales. So, at the Pokemon Center, you are not going to be able to get the world-specific deck box or the double deck box, which kind of shocked me. I mean, because I went to NAIC, right? I saw the NAIC deck boxes. I've got the double deck box right here. And originally, like, I didn't think like, oh, I'd want the double deck box because like I have this one, my Nessa one, that I use exclusively for whatever deck I'm taking to locals or whatever. But I went ahead and bought it anyway because I was like, oh, it's the event exclusive. Like maybe it would suck not to have it if I wanted it 6 months down the line or 1 month down the line. And I mean, it's hard to get these now in terms of a fair price compared to what I paid. It was like $15 at the Pokemon Center shop at NAIC. But I would love to get one of these for Worlds. I don't know if they're going to be giving one to the competitors. I know, like, if you were a competitor at NAIC, they gave you a single deck box that is a different design than this. I can't grab it right now. It's all the way over there. I can't reach. But it was just kind of surprising to me that they're not going to have this. Now, this isn't the, like, Pikachu one that we're talking about in there. There's like a Pikachu deck box for the World Championships that's got like the Pikachu promo in it. We're not talking about that one. We're talking about specifically like World Championship, just like the stuff that you got at NAIC or that you could get at NAIC. So I thought it was something to bring up for anybody who was looking forward to that, because that's kind of that sucks in my opinion. We don't know exactly the reason for it. But
yeah, who knows?
I wonder if
it could have been production. At this point, at this late stage, right? Say there was some defect in any of the production, it's impossible to get a new set.
Oh yeah. Like, it could be a wide variety of things, like the magnet that holds it together. Maybe the magnet was funky. Maybe there was a spelling error or something. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, like something small like that. A store, like, especially in Japan, like, product quality is important to them. And they're not gonna, they would just be like, well, we can't reprint them, and there's no point making these for 3 months later because it won't be
Maybe
worlds.
maybe it's like the Pikachu deck box thing where maybe they forgot to put fairy energy on the deck box and they were planning to put all the energies and they forgot to put fairy because fairy's not in standard format anymore and they were like, oh heck, got to get rid of it. Who knows? I mean,
Yeah.
it hopefully, you'll still be able to get like, especially if you're a competitor, maybe they'll give some out to spectators too. I don't know, of like just something to get for you, but it
I would
unfortunately I wouldn't count on it.
yeah, I would assume that whatever that design was, it doesn't exist anymore. They have
Yeah,
destroyed them all, and they're not
unfortunately.
gonna look. It is what it is. It's a little unfortunate, but nobody paid for it yet, right?
Yeah,
So
that's
it's
true.
just. But
And
I will
there is
say,
probably plenty of other things to get.
yes. But Jake, I know we wanted to before we end this talk about some off the wall, rogue, budget, whatever decks. So
Hmm.
with the time we got left, do you want to get into that?
Sure, let's go ahead and talk about some of those. Now that Sean and I have been playing like locals and stuff a lot more, there are some fun decks that we've seen that you can try out, try your hand at that aren't too expensive. You won't be breaking the bank. You might have some of this in your binder or bulk piles to throw together. So the first one, Sean, that we can talk about is this Firebox deck. This is a friend of mine at locals, Ryan Ferry, was playing this. And it was really, really fun. It's kind of like just a box. You have a lot of different options in there. You use Armorage, which has an ability to move fire energies, right? Powered up with Magma Basin, putting energies on the board and moving them to specific Pokemon, attacking Pokemon like Entei, Delphox, even Pokemon like Raikou in there to maybe hit for weakness on Palkias and Lugias. Zapdos to rush in and hit all those Arceus decks that are popping up left and right. We said the other week that Arceus was on the rise. Drapion for the Mew. You also have reversal energy in here, powered up alongside cards like Luxray. You've
Yeah.
got a cheeky little Luxray in there to be able to hit those numbers very quickly, surprise your opponent if you're down on prizes. Because you play a lot of different attackers like Cerulege, for example, the psychic type Cerulege to hit into the Urshifu VMAX that's been
Mm.
popping up lately, or the different other attackers that are not fires, such as the Luxray, the Luminion, even the Zapdos Raikou. You've got Luminous Energy in this list. Sean, do you remember Luminous Energy?
Oh yeah, it's basically rainbow energy, but you can only have one of them attached at a time.
Exactly. If you do not remember, it's like what Sean said. It turns into a colorless energy, I believe, if you like attach luminous energy to a Pokemon that has reversal on it.
Yeah.
Um, so it's very interesting to use with like one colored energy attackers, such as like Zapdos. It's one fighting, three colorless.
Yep.
Entei, one fighting, zero colorless. Luminion, one water, two colorless. Cerulege, one psychic, two colorless. So there's a lot of flexibility that you can actually use in this list to provide just like some fun combos and stuff. And you've got some cheeky things in there like Thornton as well to be switching those Pokemon. Thornton, a very, very cool card. In this list, you got Canceling Cologne in there as well to just be whacking on Pokemon. And there's a lot of just fun things in here, Sean.
Yeah, it's just an interesting fire-based counter box.
Mm-hmm.
That's really what it is. And so, like, yeah, you're covering, like you said, you're covering weaknesses for electric or lightning, and then psychic and darkness and fighting. And then for everything that you're not going to hit for weakness against, cool, just throw an Entei up there or a Delphox or whatever, like something that hits for a decent amount.
Yeah, I mean especially the Entei and the Raikou, I feel like
Hmm.
this format is very like bench heavy. I mean, we play Battle VIP Pass, Gardevoir has to have so many bench sitters. Lugia needs to have so many bench sitters. Mew needs to have so many bench sitters. Even decks like Chin Pao as well, Lost Box needs so many bench sitters. You can really just start racking up the damage numbers on a Pokemon like Entei or Raikou V and just get damage off really, really early, right? All it takes is just a Luminous Energy and a Magma Basin with your Armorage to be able to set those Pokemon up. And especially with a card like Zapdos V, especially Arceus techs, you don't need much in terms of energies to be able to whack that guy. And especially with Forest Sealstone, your hardest thing to find, I think, is your luminous energies. And so with plenty Pokemon V out there, you can definitely, have a Zapdos V in the active, Forest Sealstone, go get your luminous energy, attach it, and just whack Arceus or
Yeah.
other fighting weak Pokemon like Miraidon.
Yeah, yeah. So look, this is a pretty fun one. The next one, Jake.
It's the binder drop.
Yeah, it does look kind of like you're like how I would when I first looked at the deck, Jake. I was like, "What is happening here?" Then it all comes together. It all makes sense. But
Hmm.
I think the next one that I wanted to talk about is the Noivern EX deck. Actually,
So there are three things guaranteed in life, Sean: death, taxes, and me hitting against a Noivern EX deck in any local event. I swear, it can be the only one in a 50-person cup, and I will hit the Noivern EX and just lose to it. This Noivern EX has been seeing a lot of popularity at locals, at least in my local area, and it's a very cheeky deck that counters a lot of the meta, I will say. So you played Noivern EX, which has been seeing a lot of limelight in the like Arceus Regidrago decks. So Regidrago can copy the attacks. It's got two different attacks. One is Covert Flight, I believe it's called. Two colorless energies for 70 damage. During your opponent's next turn, prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by any basic Pokemon. So, not only does 70 damage work really, really well against little baby Pokemon like Comfey and stuff, just neutralizing any attacks from basic Pokemon is super, super strong sometimes. If you're facing, I think Wings of Unity just like literally loses to this deck. If they get off one covert flight,
yeah,
because I don't
yeah,
think Wings of Unity has any non-basic attackers except maybe the Gallade. But the
maybe.
Gallade doesn't do anything because you're not playing any Vs. Um, and then it also though has another attack that is also very good, especially right now. It's for a psychic and a dark energy, does 140 damage. I think it's called Deafening Voice. Um,
Dominating Echo.
or Dominating Echo. Wow, that was difficult
Fine.
for me. Anyways, so Dominating Echo says essentially during your opponent's next turn, they can't play any special energy or stadium cards from their hand. So special energy, very impactful in this format. A lot of Pokemon, especially like Arceus decks, as I mentioned earlier, really, really want to play those special energies from hand. Even cards like Mew VMAX, for example. Now, Alyssa Sparkle still
Yes.
works on uh what's the attack?
No, at least a Sparkle will
No,
still
I'm
go
sorry.
through.
What's the Noivern's attack?
Dominating Echo.
Dominate. So Elisa Sparkle still goes through Dominating Echo. That's what I was trying to say. Sorry.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of disruption as well with not being able to play stadiums. There's nothing else in the format that plays stadiums except for from your hand placing out a stadium. So you're playing Path to the Peak in this list. You're stopping all of those ability cards in terms of your rule box, your opponent's rule box Pokemon, and you're not playing anything with rule box abilities, not playing any Radiance in this deck. So really, you're just trying to stick the Iono Judge Path to the Peaks and just dominating echoes or covert flights.
Yeah.
You're playing the Clef keys in this to stop your basic Pokemon abilities from your opponents. The barrel to draw cards, just a lot of disruption going on in here. And playing Luminous Energy again, Sean was 2 for 2
Yeah.
now on decks playing the new energy card.
I mean, I guess for this one, like your only attacker is basically Noivern, but I guess it's like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
just in case you don't have the other kind of energy, since it only takes two, this can represent either energy type, basically. So, cool.
Yeah,
Great.
and I mean Noivern also has free retreat. So if your opponent is doing some cheeky plays in terms of, chipping away at damage, things like that, you can maybe buy enough time to be able to have Noivern and set that on the bench and send up another one. If you're looking for other cards to maybe include in this list, because I did just throw it together a little bit before the pod. If you're looking for other cards to jump in here, I think Raihan is a good option for this deck and can really help you chain out those Noivern EXs because you are using single attachment turns. So Noivern can help out a lot in that aspect. You have a lot of discarding effects, a bunch of research, Ultra Balls, things of that nature. So you can get an energy in the discard to where if your opponent knocks out a Clef key in their first turn going second, right? If you have an energy in the discard because you like attached it to the Clef key or something or discarded it off the Ultra Ball, you can just go straight into, you can Raihan onto that Noibat, evolve into Noivern, attach from hand onto that guy, and start using the attack right away. So that could be a cool card to get in there, and it's super annoying to play against. I've hit this deck so many times. It's become my arch nemesis deck, Sean.
Yeah. Two more decks to talk about. One of them is a Palkia deck here. And this Palkia deck, it's a little strange. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's Palkia with the Kirlia Gardevoir engine. It's mostly just Palkia. So what's going on here?
If you really want to see gameplay of this deck, Azul actually played this deck in the Dude stream, the Decks Out of Discord streams that he was doing last week. This is actually the deck that I submitted, and he went on a 14-game win streak in ladder with. So very, very cool. I like this deck. I think it's a lot of fun. It's kind of what I'm playing right now. So this ideally, we talked about how bench Pokemon run rampant in this format, a lot of bench sitting Pokemon. So Palkia, using water energies, can hit for some big damage. But another thing that you also utilize with Palkia is Star Portals. So the idea of this deck is to churn through your deck, get through all your resources, get those Kirlias out to be able to just churn, and then you can do one of two options. You can Star Portal onto different Pokemon, such as Radiant Greninja or Kyogre, right? Or even another Palkia, to continue attacking and to just take Pokemon out left and right. Or, especially during the end game, you can use Gardevoir Shining Arcana, because if you don't recall, Sean, or maybe you remember, Shining Arcana, if you find any basic energies from the draw off Shining Arcana, you can attach it to any Pokemon. So you can use Shining Arcana, especially late game, to attach it to your Radiant Greninjas, your Kyogres, anything like that to pull off some moves. And you're running cross switchers and Colognes in this list. So just kind of like how we talked about with like Chin Pao and stuff. Manaphy, super popular in this format. You can cross switcher up Manaphy, you can Cologne that Manaphy, and you can use cards like Energy Recycler, right, to get your deck set to 5 energies, and using a finishing Aqua Storm to discard 5 energies from your deck and do 250 damage. It's like a combination of like Lost Box, like the Lost Box turbos with the Kyogre. That sort of finishing combo move essentially, and then also just like the Curlia engine. You know, refinement is just so strong. You draw so many cards off of it. You know, playing the VIP passes, playing the Pokestops. This list could use some different movements. Like a lot of times, I wish I had like another attacker, maybe like one of the Articunos
Yeah.
that are around. I think the only one that I think is worth playing right now is like the 70 HP one that paralyzed that people were using in like the Palkia box decks
Yeah.
that we talked about a while ago.
Because I am looking at this, and you do have 2 super rods, which is helpful. But yeah, there's only 4 attackers in the deck. You got 2 Palkia V Stars, a Kyogre, and a Greninja.
You can also, I mean, this isn't out of the realm of the ordinary. You can Squawkabilly Motivate. Do you remember what Motivate does?
Yeah. You do 20, and you attach 2 basic energy from your discard pile to your Pokemon.
So it's specifically one benched Pokemon, just for anyone who doesn't know, just to give them clarification.
Like, it's not terrible.
I mean, this list is cheeky. It's fun. I love drawing cards. I love placing energies everywhere. Yeah, I like this deck. It's just goofy.
You know what I might consider? It's not. I don't know. Maybe it's not good. Metacham in this deck.
You could maybe do Metacham in a list like this. Yeah.
Because Palkia hits max 260, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, Arceus is 280. You Star Portal or whatever. You Metacham. Cool. Extra turn.
Yeah, I mean, and you could also find different Pokemon like Kyogre. If you, I don't know, is there any Pokemon that have 270 in the format?
I'm sure there is one
worth mentioning.
I'm sure there's. I don't think.
Well, there's like different numbers that you can do on Kyogre. So like Kyogre can hit 50, right? So there's a bunch of 70 HP Pokemon, Ralts, Comfey, things like that. 100, so 120, 150, so 170. I think those are a little bit more tricky. 200, 220, we know is a notable number in the format. A lot of V's in there, and then 250 to 270 in the list. So yeah, I mean, Metacham could be a decent inclusion in here. And the Articuno, like I mentioned, I don't know exactly what gets cut though.
Yeah, that's fair.
That's one of the problems. It feels like a relatively tight list.
Because you're already trying to do. There's a lot going on here, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's a really fun deck to play. So, and this is one that you can get pretty cheap because Palkia was in those promos. You know, I think Radiant Greninja is probably your most expensive card. It's like $5 card. Which, by the way, in my retro searching. In that I was telling earlier today, I found a Radiant Greninja in the box and I got it for 35 cents near mint.
Okay, that's
I just remembered that too. It was awesome. Anyways, moving on to the final list. This is Sean's challenge list. Some good, clean fun, I think. So Sean, tell us about the list.
So this is, I played this at my challenge. I had some very bad luck. I would say if you feel like you're a lucky human, give this list a try. If, like me, you can recognize that you are not a lucky human when it comes to card games, do not play this deck. But it is an Arceus Fortress Wo-Chien deck. So Arceus obviously is your engine, right? Arceus V-Star getting 2 cards out of the deck. It's what gets you into a turn 2 combo. So the idea with this deck, you're playing 4 Battle VIPs, 4 Ultra Ball, and 3 Nest Ball. You're also playing 4 Pokegear, which for those of you who don't see a lot of Pokegear, there you go. There's 4 in this deck. The whole combo that you want to get, turn 1, you want to set up at least 2 Pinecos and an Arceus. That's sort of your baseline. And then you have cards like Squawkabilly to help you search through more of your deck on the first turn. Just, get through as much as you can turn 1, preferably going first. Turn 2, a perfect turn is you evolve 2 Fortress, Arceus V-Star, you go grab yourself Path to the Peak. You grab yourself whatever you need. But the goal is to grab Path to the Peak and Iono and a Wo-Chien. And you blow up your fortresses. Now, for those of you who don't know what Fortress EX does, you can blow it up to search your deck for up to 5 grass energy, basic grass energy, and put them onto your Pokemon in any way you'd like. You do it twice, you basically are pulling all 10 or however many energy you're left in your deck out in one turn. So the purpose for that, though, is your opponent goes down to 2 prizes. So the ordering of this is very important. You need to get them down to 2 prizes, and then you need to Iono and have a path to the peak to follow all this up, so that your opponent, before they get to go on their second turn, so they've had 1 turn to set up, and then before going into turn 2, they're down to 2 cards in hand with a path on the field. If you can stick that lock and have a little bit of luck, then Wo Chien can come in and do 240 damage to the bench every single turn, or if there's something like a Manaphy out, 220 to the active. That's really the combination. That's basically it.
That's the wombo combo.
It's a lot to ask for turn 2. In practice, I did get this more often than not, but when I got to the challenge, my luck was not with me, and I did not get this to happen ever. So
note to self, don't practice.
Right. Like, I've played a few versions of this list. I like it. You're playing 4 Iono and 2 Roxannes. So the ability to get your opponent down to 2 cards in hand. There's a lot of supporters. You play 4 Pokegears. You know, I don't know. I like the list. It's really annoying for your opponent if you can stick it. Suffice it to say.
It's interesting and fun, and I may have to check it out because I was at a challenge not too long ago, and I didn't post about this, but I don't open up a ton, but I opened up my entry packs, and I got my 5th Wo Chien that I've opened.
That's so many.
So I immediately traded it because I was like, I don't need any more than 4. But this may be a deck now that I can build because I think I've pulled like all these cards.
Yeah, I would say the biggest, I found this out when I played against a friend of mine at a locals who she plays Gardevoir, and she runs the Mimikyu that says that EX and Vs don't do damage. And the one game I played against her for fun, she just happened to start that Mimikyu. And I'm like,
and you just read it and you're like, attacking with Pineco?
That was my goal. I was like, Pineco does 30 damage for 2 energy. I'm like, God, this is terrible. So yeah, there are definitely certain cards that can shut this deck down, but I don't think you'll see that much Mimikyu. So yeah, that's it though.
Again, just giving you all some cheeky, fun decks that you can take to locals and have a good time, have a good laugh, play with some friends, right? Switch things up a little bit. Maybe not the best decks ever, but that's the fun thing about the Pokemon card game. You know, you can build some cool things, some cool combos, and have a ton of fun. So, Sean, is there anything else that we need to talk about today?
No, hopefully we have the Obsidian Flame full set list for next week before pre-release, and then we can talk about that.
That would be interesting, actually. I don't know. I feel like the set releases, we usually don't get them till after.
I mean, yeah, maybe not, but so we'll do that when we get the full list. So we'll see.
We'll let you know as soon as we find out. Thank you so much for listening to the Metapod Podcast. Pokemon Podcast revolves around the evolving meta. I'm Jake. That's Sean. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next week.